Julia Hart always believed the worst secrets were the ones whispered in quiet houses, never loud enough for neighbors to hear, but sharp enough to split families open. She learned this the day she found the message her daughter had written in trembling blue crayon, just hours before she vanished. "Mommy, don't let him take me again." The note had been tucked beneath Lily's pillow, folded so neatly it felt rehearsed. Julia stood there frozen, staring at the words that made no sense, because no one was supposed to be taking Lily anywhere except a Rosebridge preschool, a cheerful turquoise building that boasted open classrooms, puppet shows, and teachers who smiled too widely. That was a year ago, and nothing about it ever made sense. Julia replayed the day over and over. Lily had walked into her classroom holding her little purple lunchbox, braids swinging, no fear in her face. But by 9:17 a.m., she was gone. The school claimed she must have slipped out. Police suggested abduction. Cameras caught nothing but static during the exact 8 minutes she disappeared. It was as if Lily had dissolved into thin air, and Julia had been dissolving ever since. A year later, on the eve of the disappearance anniversary, her phone buzzed at 3:42 a.m. with a sound she hadn't heard in 12 months, a tracking notification from Lily's old safety bracelet. The bracelet shouldn't have had power. It had been dead for months, sealed in evidence. But the alert glowed on her screen. Safe signal detected. Location: Rosebridge Preschool, lower level. Julia's heart hammered. Lower level? The preschool didn't have a lower level. Not officially. She grabbed her keys and drove through thick rain, tires slicing the empty road. When she reached the school, it sat silent under the orange streetlights, windows like dead eyes. The signal pulsed stronger as she approached. Stronger still when she stepped into Lily's old classroom. The arrow on her phone pointed downward, directly beneath the reading carpet. The room smelled of dust and lemon cleaner, but Julia noticed something else. The carpet corner was slightly lifted. Not torn, lifted, as if someone had checked beneath it recently. She pulled it back. The wooden floor beneath had an outline, a trapdoor sealed with rusted nails and old paint. A trapdoor she had never seen before. A trapdoor no parent had ever been told about. Her hands shook. She pressed her ear to the wood. A faint humming vibrated beneath. Lily's signal. Someone had been down there. Someone had hidden it. Someone still had access. Julia staggered back. And then she did the one thing she had promised herself she wouldn't do. She called her ex-husband. Michael Hart arrived within 10 minutes, breathing hard, soaked from the storm. He looked thinner than a year ago, eyes sunken, stubble uneven. Grief had gnawed at him until he resembled a shadow more than a man. "What did you find?" he whispered. She showed him. His jaw clenched. "Julia, you should have called the police. I needed you to see it first." He hesitated, an expression flickering across his face. Fear, guilt, something muddy and deep. "You knew about this," she said quietly. "Didn't you?" His eyes snapped toward hers, defensive. "Of course not." But Julia remembered the note, "Don't let him take me again." She had asked Michael what that meant. He said Lily sometimes had nightmares. He said kids made things up. He said there was nothing to worry about. But he had always known more than he said. Police arrived within the hour. The trapdoor was pried open with crowbars. A wave of cold. Stale air rolled upward like breath exhaled from the earth. Flashlights sliced the darkness below, revealing a narrow service tunnel. Decades old, forgotten, crawling under the school like veins. And there, lying in the dust, was Lily's bracelet, still blinking. Detective Rowan Pierce climbed down first. He was meticulous, slow, the kind of investigator who treated silence like a language. Julia watched him search the cramped corridor, brushing away dust, studying tread marks, counting steps. When he returned, his expression was complicated. "There's more down there," he said. "We need to search deeper." "But this," he held up the bracelet. "This wasn't sitting there for a year. Someone placed it recently." "Why?" Julia asked. Rowan paused. "To lure you back." The room tilted. Michael swore under his breath and paced away, running his hands through his hair as if he were trying to pull something out of his mind. Rowan watched him too long, too intently. Julia's stomach twisted. The investigation reignited instantly, and everything, absolutely everything, shifted. Past teachers were re-interviewed. Maintenance logs were reopened. The school's architect, a man long retired, admitted something chilling. The tunnels were built during expansions in the 1980s, meant for wiring, plumbing, and emergency access. They were supposed to be sealed off. But one person had the keys after the closure. The former maintenance supervisor, Adam Krell, a man who worked alone, the man who lived 2 blocks from the school, the man fired for boundary issues with children, though never charged, a man who, according to his old co-workers, had been obsessed with quiet places. A man who disappeared the same month as Lily. But the twist came 3 days later, when Detective Rowan found a different kind of evidence inside the tunnel. A scrap of fabric from Lily's dress covered in fingerprints, and most of the prints belonged to Adam. But not all. Some belonged to Michael. Julia felt her body ice over. Michael stammered explanations. He had helped maintenance fix something once. He had carried Lily's things. He might have touched her dress before she vanished. None of his excuses fit the truth. He was hiding something that he had been hiding something from the start. When Rowan interviewed him again, the cracks widened. It turned out Michael had been receiving anonymous calls for months, calls he never told Julia about. Late at night, whispered messages, sometimes breathing, sometimes a single phrase. She's not gone. She's waiting. Michael had changed his phone number twice. The calls continued. He stopped sleeping. He stopped eating. He started drinking alone in the garage. And he started avoiding Julia entirely. "Why didn't you tell me?" she screamed. "Because I didn't know if they were real," he cried. "Because I thought maybe I deserved it." "Deserved what?" He went silent. Julia felt something cold unfold inside her, a suspicion she had buried all year. Michael, what did Lily mean when she wrote, "Don't let him take me again"? He closed his eyes. Then he whispered, "I don't know." But it was a lie. Rowan knew it. Julia knew it. Michael knew it. 2 weeks later, Rowan led a full search through the tunnels, dragging heat scanners, drones, and ground-penetrating sensors. They tracked disturbed soil, moisture trails, and clandestine construction. The deeper they went, the more wrong everything felt. Narrow passages, scraped walls, secret access points that shouldn't exist. They found evidence of someone living down there, blankets, water bottles, canned food, a child's hair ribbon, and something worse, a small wooden toy Lily used to carry everywhere. But they still didn't find Lily, or Adam, or whoever else had been using the tunnels. The case shifted again when Rowan discovered a second trapdoor, this one leading to a sealed room beneath an old storage shed. Julia waited above ground while officers pried it open. Dust billowed out like smoke. Rowan descended first. Silence, then a shout, then frantic scrambling. He emerged pale. "There's a journal," he said, "and you need to read this." Julia flipped through trembling pages. Childlike handwriting filled them. Drawings of tunnels. Drawings of a tall man with no face. Drawings of Lily holding hands with someone small. Another child? The final page read, "They said Daddy knows. They said Daddy promised. They said Daddy helped." Julia's world broke open. Michael collapsed on the grass, sobbing so violently he couldn't breathe. "Julia, I swear I don't know why she..." Rowan grabbed his arm. "We're taking you in." "No!" Michael screamed. "I didn't hurt her. I thought I could fix this." "Fix what?" Julia whispered. Michael stared at her, eyes hollow. "Everything," he said. "All of it started long before she disappeared. The case now sits in court. Evidence sealed, witnesses hidden. The truth twisted in every direction. Michael maintains he's being framed. Some detectives agree. Others don't. The tunnels reveal more every week. Old bones, hidden rooms, objects belonging to children who were never reported missing. The preschool sits abandoned. The town is terrified. Adam Krell is still nowhere to be found. And Lily is still missing. But 2 nights ago, Julia's phone buzzed again. Safe signal detected. Moving location direction. Away from tunnel's distance. 0.4 millistatus. In motion. She dropped the phone. Because that meant one thing. Someone or something was still carrying Lily's device. And if the last signal wasn't meant to lead them to her, what was it meant to lead them away from? Rain hammered against the windows as Julia sat alone in her dark living room, staring at the screen of her buzzing phone. The signal, the one that shouldn't exist, was moving again. Safe signal detected. Direction: northwest distance, 0.3 millistatus. Slow, steady movement. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Julia's hand shook as she watched the little icon crawl across the digital map, away from the school, away from the tunnels, and away from everything she understood. She grabbed her coat and keys without thinking. Some mothers search with flyers, some with prayers. Julia searched with the last thing left of her daughter's presence. The signal led her into the oldest part of Rosebridge, where cracked sidewalks wound past shuttered storefronts. Every street lamp flickered, like it had something to confess. The closer she got, the more wrong it felt. Then the signal stopped completely. Right outside Building 14, the abandoned apartment complex condemned 5 years earlier. Every window was black. The air smelled of mold and wet concrete. "No trespassing" sign dangled sideways by a single nail. Julia stepped closer. The app flickered. Signal lost, then reconnected. Below your level. Her stomach dropped. Below, a basement. Or worse. Her phone vibrated again. But this time it wasn't a signal. It was a message. "Unknown number. You shouldn't be here." Not alone. Julia staggered backward, heart slamming. The words crawled under her skin. She didn't recognize the number, but the tone felt familiar. Cold, controlled, watching. Footsteps approached from the shadows, slow and deliberate. Julia spun. Detective Rowan Pierce stepped into the weak glow of a street lamp, rain dripping from his hair. "You tracked the signal," he said quietly. "How did you—" "I traced it too." She exhaled shakily. "Why didn't you call backup?" Rowan hesitated. "Because I don't trust everyone on this case anymore." The night swallowed his words. Inside Building 14, the walls were peeled down to insulation. Dust coated the floors like forgotten snow. Rowan's flashlight cut thin slices of light through the dark. "We're looking for any access to the basement," he murmured. Julia moved past rusted mailboxes, running her fingers along the wall until they caught on something. A seam. A hidden door? Rowan joined her, examining it closely. It's been opened recently. A thin line of fresh, wet mud sat at the base. Together, they pushed, and the panel slid inward with a groan, revealing a stairwell spiraling down into cold, stale air. The signal pinged again, louder, clearer. Found. Below, Julia descended first. The basement stretched like a forgotten labyrinth. Long corridors lined with broken tiles and old heating units. Rowan swept his light across graffiti, debris, and metal doors that hadn't been touched in years. Then Julia saw it. A tiny purple sneaker. Lily's. It sat neatly beneath a rusted pipe, as if placed rather than dropped. A soft ringing echoed, a metallic clicking sound, rhythmic, intentional. "Do you hear that?" Julia whispered. Rowan raised his flashlight higher. At the far end of the corridor stood a figure, still as a statue, a hood pulled over their face. One hand holding something that gleamed under the light. The bracelet. Lily's bracelet. Julia choked back a sob. "Where is she? Where's my daughter?" The figure didn't speak, didn't move. Rowan stepped forward, put the device down. "Now!" The figure turned slowly, revealing only a pale jawline, the faint shimmer of a scar. Then they bolted down a side corridor. Rowan sprinted after them. Julia followed the sound of footsteps, shouts, slamming metal doors. By the time she reached the boiler room, Rowan was alone, breathing hard. "He escaped through the vents," he growled. Damn it, he knew this place. Julia sank to her knees, but he left the bracelet. Why would he leave it? Rowan didn't answer. He just held her gently by the shoulders. "Julia, you need to see something." He angled the flashlight toward the wall, where something had been carved deep into the concrete. A message. A name. Michael. Her ex-husband's name. Etched by hand. Julia's breath froze. Rowan's jaw tightened. This is why I didn't bring backup. Why would my husband's name be carved down here? Her voice cracked. What does it mean? It means, Rowan said, that this isn't just about the tunnels, or the school, or that maintenance worker. He shined a light across the room. There were dozens of names carved into the walls, some crossed out, some circled, some marked with dates. And then Rowan whispered, "Look." Julia followed the beam until it landed on a small drawing. A little girl, long hair, without a blue dress, Lily. And beside it, a second drawing of a child holding her hand. A child with no name, no face, just a single word written beneath. Brother. Julia staggered backward. Lily doesn't have a brother. She doesn't have... Rowan looked at her with a heaviness she couldn't decipher. Julia, are you absolutely sure? The question struck her like a blow, because in the fog of recall, buried under grief and fear, a memory pushed upward, an argument she and Michael had once had in the kitchen, one she dismissed at the time, thinking it was about bills or stress. But now she remembered his exact words. We can't tell her. Not yet. Not tell who? Tell what? Julia swallowed, trembling. Rowan, are you saying someone thinks Lily has a brother? Or that Michael thinks she does? Or that? Rowan stepped closer. I'm saying someone down here believed Lily wasn't the only child involved in this, and that Michael may have known more about it than he admitted. Julia pressed a hand to her mouth. But there's one more thing, Rowan said softly. Look at the dates. She did. Some carvings were from 20 years ago, some from 10. Some from last month. This wasn't new. This was ongoing. A pattern, a system, a chain. Julia's body went ice cold. Rowan, what is this place? He exhaled. A collection point, he said, or a hiding place, or a message left by someone who's been doing this for years. And Lily? Julia whispered, we're dealing with something bigger, and someone smarter than we thought. He held up the bracelet again. It's not a clue, he said. It's an invitation. Julia felt the room spin. An invitation. From who? And why now? As they left the basement, Julia noticed something Rowan hadn't. Near the stairs, scratched faintly into the floor, a fresh mark, a small one, almost invisible. L plus M equals home. Lily and the mysterious child she drew. Or no. No, it couldn't. Julia, you okay? Rowan called from up the stairs. She stood frozen, because suddenly she knew the most terrifying truth so far. Lily wasn't just missing. She wasn't just taken. She wasn't just hidden. She had left messages. Messages Julia never saw. Messages Michael may have ignored. Messages Rowan might not yet understand. Messages that meant Lily wasn't alone in those tunnels. Someone was with her. Someone Lily trusted. Someone she called home. And now the question that chilled Julia deeper than anything else. Was Lily being held? Or was she choosing not to come back? Julia barely remembered the drive home. The walls of the abandoned basement, the carvings, the drawings. All of it circled her mind like a storm that refused to pass. Her daughter wasn't alone. Someone Lily trusted was with her. Someone she called home. By dawn, Julia hadn't slept. She sat at the kitchen table with cold coffee, staring at the bracelet Rowan had returned to her. It blinked once every few minutes. Too faint to track, too strong to ignore. A single thought pulsed in her chest. Lily was alive. She had to be. A knock jolted her from the chair. Julia opened the door, expecting Rowan. Instead, she found Michael standing in the rain, hands cuffed, flanked by 2 officers. His eyes were bloodshot, swollen from hours of interrogation. Julia, he croaked. Please, listen. They think he choked. I didn't take her. I swear to you I didn't. One of the officers stepped forward. He's being transported to the courthouse for arraignment. Julia closed the door without answering. She didn't believe Michael had stolen Lily. Not exactly. But she knew, now more than ever, that he was hiding something. Something that mattered. And Rowan had agreed to meet her at noon. She stared at the blinking bracelet. L plus M equals home. She whispered to herself, who is M? At noon sharp, Julia arrived at the precinct. Rowan looked like he hadn't slept either. Eyes sharp, shoulders tense. I had a tech team run diagnostics on the bracelet, he said. It wasn't just sending location data. It was receiving something. Julia frowned. Receiving what? Rowan slid a tablet across the desk. A series of numbers filled the screen. Intervals. Patterns. Signals. They're not coordinates, Rowan said, lowering his voice. They're time stamps. Time stamps for what? She whispered. He swallowed. Moments when the bracelet received a matching device's ping. Julia's heart stopped. A matching device? Yes. Rowan tapped the screen. This wasn't a one-way signal. It's been paired with another bracelet, the one Lily talked about in her drawings. Julia stared. There's another child, Rowan said, and they've been in contact with Lily's bracelet for months. Julia gripped the edge of the desk. But where's that device now? Rowan breathed in slowly. We traced the most recent ping. It wasn't from the school or the tunnels or the abandoned building. He turned the tab around. The location blinked. County Courthouse, holding area time. Today, 10:14 a.m. Julia's blood ran cold. That's when Michael was there, she whispered. Rowan nodded. The last paired ping came from inside the building, after he was arrested. No, Julia breathed. No, that's impossible. You're saying my husband has the other device. Rowan shook his head. I'm saying the ping came from someone near him. Someone who walked through the same metal detectors he did. Someone who passed the same hallway. Someone who had access to the holding area. Julia backed away. Then who? Rowan answered with something she never expected. Julia, there was another detainee being processed at the same time as Michael. Who? Rowan opened a file, and the breath left Julia's body. It wasn't Adam Krell. It wasn't a stranger. It was a woman. A woman Julia hadn't seen in over 6 years, a woman she never thought she'd see again, a name she had erased from her life. Marion Hart, Michael's sister, Lily's aunt, an unstable woman with a sealed mental health history, a past full of disappearances, obsessions, and a deep fascination with children's spiritual purity. A woman who once told Julia that Lily glowed more than other children. A woman who vanished from the family years ago after a long psychotic break. One that Michael never, ever wanted to discuss. Julia whispered. She was there? At the courthouse. Rowan nodded. Arrested for trespassing near the old construction sites by the school. She claimed she was checking the safe places. Police booked her. She refused to speak. Julia's ears buzzed. She walked into the courthouse this morning wearing an ankle-length coat. Rowan continued. Security footage shows she was carrying something against her chest, hidden under the fabric. Julia felt her pulse slam into her throat. And Julia, the footage shows her coat blinking. Blinking, she choked, like a device was hidden inside. Julia felt the room tilt. A second child. 2 bracelets. Signals paired. Aunt Marion back in town. Michael hiding secrets about his family. Rowan whispered. Julia, I think Marion took Lily. Julia gasped. Then where is she now? Where did she go? Rowan's phone buzzed. He checked it, and color drained from his face. Oh, God. What? Julia cried. Marion just escaped custody during transport to the psychiatric wing. He looked up, horrified. She attacked the nurse, slipped her cuffs, ran. And Lily? Julia screamed. Rowan didn't move, didn't blink. He slowly turned the screen toward her. A new alert flashed. New paired signal detected at distance. 0.6 miles of direction. Northeast speed. Fast. Julia stared. Northeast. That was rural. Empty. Woods. Rowan whispered. Marion has the second device. And she's running. Julia grabbed her coat, her voice shaking with fury and terror. Then we go after her. Rowan blocked the door. Julia. Move, she screamed. He paused and stepped aside. But as they rushed toward the exit, Julia's phone buzzed one more time. A notification she had never seen before, that a message sent directly to Lily's app. Sender, M. A childlike handwriting font. A message only 3 words long. Julia read it. Then her legs nearly buckled. We're not done. The screen glowed again, before the second Final message appeared. See you soon, Mommy.